All right, what's up, you guys? It's Dynasty Mir, Search for Guru, and this is another episode of Living and Doing Business in Africa, the Namibia edition. And I have the good brother Brian Wheeler with us, and we're just gonna discuss and chop it up about, life in Namibia. He's gonna give some background on his story on how he ended up in Namibia and what he's doing now and all that good stuff. Because, I get asked a lot, Dynast, I want to relocate to Africa. Either A, I don't know which country to go to, or B, how would I be able to make a living there, or what can I expect? And, I travel to Africa a lot, but I don't live there yet. So it's better to have someone who actually lives there and has been living there for a number of years to kind of give the insight and detail on, how he's able to transition and, how he's able to feed his family, more important, because people think, hey, I got $100. I'm gonna go to Africa, to a specific country, I'm gonna be straight. But you're setting yourself up for failure, so we don't want that. So, Brian, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. It's a big cold and one hook today, but we're surviving. We're doing well.
Oh, you said it's cold out there.
And it's right now is our winter, so
okay.
It's a bit chilly.
Okay, yeah. When I was in Namibia, it was hot as hell. I was out there it was like December 2012, and it was hot, very hot. So
yeah, December is summer.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, Brian. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you were born here in the States, right? Born and raised here in America, correct?
Yeah, I was born Ohio, born and raised in Cleveland.
Okay.
The last 10 years before I repatriated, I was living in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay. With the University of Ohio, Ohio State, go Buckeyes.
Yeah, I was in Columbus, but I'm an alum of Wilberforce, so HBCUs is where I got my undergrad education at.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Wilberforce. And so, you were here in America. What made you, or what? I know I've read the story before, but I'll let you share it. What? How did you end up in Namibia from America?
Okay, sort of just to summarize, but from my early adulthood, I will be what you would describe as a Garveyite or Rastafarian. So it was natural to always have aspirations to repatriate to Africa, but the challenge was how to do it. So really, my early 20s, I started trying to figure out. I should say my mid 20s, I tried to figure out how to make the move, but really, when reality hit me, I realized that I had to further my education a bit. So I got my my undergrad and finally went to grad school, and still was really applying for jobs on the internet and really didn't get any feedback from different employers on the continent. So finally, I decided in 2009 volunteering. So I was blessed to have the opportunity to volunteer in Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay.
From July 2009 until December 2010, I was an unpaid volunteer in Kenya. And the unique thing about volunteering with the organization I was with, they allowed me to bring my family with me. So my daughter was 1 at the time, and my son was 4, and my wife, of course. And we all trotted to Nairobi and was there for about 1.5 years. I was working for an organization doing sort of communication and documentation. Are you still with me?
I'm right here. We're here.
Okay. I was with them for about 1.5 years doing communication documentation work. And it was nice because I had the opportunity to really travel all over the country and learn about the challenges and opportunities in all of the different parts of Kenya. So after my contract was up, I really tried to stay in Kenya, but it was difficult to find work because of work permits and things of that nature.
Okay.
So we really decided to come down here to Namibia. I took a bus, which is really unique. We was on the road for about 5 days, traveled from Nairobi to Tanzania to Zambia. Then we finally reached Namibia on the 5th day. My first 8 months in Namibia, I was unemployed. It was a struggle, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
We were living in my wife's mother's house for about 3 months. And then finally, we put some coins together and rented our own place. And then I believe it was July of 2011, I would get a full-time job. And then we made our moves from there and became more independent.
Okay. So is your wife originally Namibian? You said her mom had a place in Namibia.
She's Namibian.
Okay.
So that's a challenge that brothers and sisters will face if they want to just make the move to a particular African country. It's not too easy to get residency unless you've got a organization that's willing to sponsor you in terms of a work permit and things of that nature. I believe Ghana, it's a bit easier. Of course, in Ethiopia, they just made some provisions for long-standing Rastas that have been living there for a while. But it's not easy in terms of getting residency. It can be done, of course, but it's not an easy endeavor.
So let me ask you this, because again, the financial aspect. I get people, hey, Dynasty, I want to move to Africa. I got a couple $100. I really don't know anybody. I have no clue where I'm gonna stay, but the ancestors are gonna guide me, and I'll be okay. What are your thoughts on that? As far as like a money, I mean, as far as having, what number can we say someone should have saved up in a place like Namibia in order to survive a year without work?
To survive in Namibia for a year without work.
Yeah.
Namibia and in particular Windhoek, the capital, is a very unique country. And I've been to several African countries. Namibia is unique when it comes to the cost of affordable housing. Right now, to rent, a flat, basically an apartment in Windhoek, that's in, a blue collar suburb, you're looking at about probably a minimum amount of, let's say, 7,000 Rand per month. And that'll get you probably a 1-bedroom flat, in a decent suburb. So 700, or I should say 7,000 American dollars is plus minus, say, 500 US dollars. So multiply that times 12. Would take care of your accommodations. You top on probably about $150 per month for utilities, be it electric and water. That will cover your basic living expenses. Then we think about food. You're about probably, for one person, maybe 150 US dollars a month. So Namibia is not cheap. It's not cheap at all. When I think back on it, the house that I owned in America, I paid less for my mortgage than the house that I own here in Namibia. So here I pay about plus minus 1,000 US dollars a month on my mortgage, because the interest rates are a lot higher this side and say in America. The average interest rate to buy a house here is probably 11%.
Wow.
So the interest rate I had on my house in America was about, I think, 3 or 4%. So there's really not a credit grading system whereby if you've got good credit, your interest rate is low. If you don't have so much good credit, your interest rate is high. There's just a blanket interest rate that you're paying. The upside is the property values on properties raise very quickly here. So I'd say about 3 months after I bought my house, the property value raised about 300, 400,000 Namibian dollars.
Wow.
And that's without even putting any paint on my on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you know, it's a false inflation, but it's still there. Whereas my house in America that I got, it lost value. The house that I've got here gained tremendous value just after a couple months.
Wow.
So if you want to come, if a person wants to come to Namibia and they don't have a job or something like that, you probably would want minimum, unless you have family here or some friend to look after you, I say 10 to 12,000 US dollars would be something you could get by on for a year and find your way.
Okay.
You know, but to keep it real, I came to Namibia with a couple $100s. I didn't have any money when I came because I was volunteering for a year and a half. So all of my savings were depleted when I was in Kenya. So, you know, I came here sort of under the premise of the ancestors guiding me. But I knew that since I had a spouse that was here, it wouldn't be as difficult for me to get a permit to start working and things of that nature.
Right. And you mentioned something, because I noticed in other countries I've been to, it's really hard to get a home loan. I know pretty much Senegal, Mali, and other countries I've been to, I haven't really researched in South Africa and Namibia, but you know, you pretty much have to bring cash, a lot of cash, either to get a loan or for the most part, you have to just pay cash to buy a house. And you just mentioned that you got a loan.
Right.
And then you said that they really don't, it's not really credit based. So how do they determine or approve you for a loan in a country like Namibia, a home loan or a car loan? And then, you know, here in America, if you have good credit, you can go FHA, put 3.5% down. How much did you have to put down in a country like Namibia for a home loan?
You know, Namibia in South Africa is unique in this, and it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, credit is readily available in South Africa and Namibia. I mean, folks even, you know, get little cards to buy clothes on credit, to buy even furniture on credit. I remember in Kenya, you know, when we wanted to buy furniture, it was like going to the street, find some brothers that make furniture, and then you buy it and take it to your house. Whereas here you can go to, you know, Game, which is like the equivalent of Walmart in America, and get stuff on credit. You know, here in terms of the house, what they do is you basically show your pay stub, how much you earn per month. They look at the amount of money you have in the bank, and based upon your income, they give you what they call a pre-qualification. So in my case, since my income wasn't that high, I was approved for, I believe it was 700,000 Namibian dollars, which is not that much. So really, after this was 2012, you know, most of the places that I was able to. Hey, baby, I'm on the phone right now. So can you? Okay. Excuse me. So what they did is they just looked at my income, gave me a pre-qualification. Love you too. Gave me a pre-qualification, and then basically was on me to find a property. But if you've got a job, it's not too difficult to buy a house. I didn't even put any money down, to be quite frank with you. So I got 100% loan. So I was lucky in the respect that there was a sister that was my friend on Facebook, and I was telling her that I was looking for a house, and she happened to want to move out of the house that she owned. So I actually just bought a house from a friend, a Namibian friend that I met on Facebook. So she sold it to me really at the valuation price. So she sold it to me for what she owed the bank.
Wow.
So we got a very good deal. So for what I paid for this house was plus minus in U.S. dollars, maybe 60,000
Okay.
U.S. dollars, and literally I could sell for double that price if I wanted to right now, just because you can't even buy a flat, a 2-bedroom flat, even in Katatora, which is like our informal location. You can't even buy an apartment for that amount right now. So I was blessed in that regards that this sister just wanted to sell a house and she sold it to me for what she owed the bank.
Wow. So
But in Namibia,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So in the obviously you pay less money per month if you put money down. But for me, I had started my job in July of 2011, and I bought this house I think in March of 2012. And the same thing for a car. I bought my car, because I didn't really have money stacked up. I didn't have money in the bank, so I was had to use the bank to buy my car, to buy my house. Um, so, for example, with my car, I bought a little 4x4 new, and I think it was like 200,000 Namibian dollars. I don't know how much that is in U.S. dollars off the top of my head, but I was paying about 4,000 rand per month on my car, and they get you with the interest rate.
Oh
I
yeah.
just paid it off maybe 6 months ago. I just finally paid off that car. Um, but credit and things of that nature is relatively easy to get in Namibia if you've got an income.
Okay. Now, as far as the job market there, um, like what's considered minimum wage? Are the jobs paying as much out there as they are out here? Because I know, like, I was talking to a buddy from France, and I mean, that's Europe, and they don't, the salaries and the incomes for certain jobs out there. If you had the same job out here in America, you'd be paid more. And in Africa in general, you hear the stories of people making like $200 a month, and for doing certain jobs that out in America, you'll be making maybe 1,000, maybe 1,500 to $2,000 a month. So how is it out there?
It's really dependent on the sector that you're working in. Let's say if a person is a car mechanic or a carpenter. In America, you can make good money as a carpenter or
Right.
as a mechanic. Here, unless you're owning your own business, doing such work, you're not going to make that much money, um, even in the Namibian context. So for unskilled labor, uh, I'll say skilled labor, say a carpenter, a welder, or something of that nature, working for someone, you might top out at maybe, and again, it's just an estimate,
Mhm.
maybe 8 to 10,000 rand or Namibian dollar per month.
Okay.
So if you're a person that is a truck driver or something like that, you would probably be hard pressed to make 800 US dollars a month. Now, for me, when I look at my own case, I work in NGO, sort of the civil society.
Mhm.
Um, working sort of in public health type stuff. In America, I would probably be making double. Actually, I know I will be making double the salary, probably more than double the salary that I'm making right now. For my for my professional skill set, I'm underpaid.
Right.
I can't lie to you there. I'm not making the kind of money that I should make. I left America in 2009.
Mhm.
I was, at my previous job, I worked at a community college. I
Mhm.
was near maybe 50,000 US dollars a year
Mhm.
in the States, and I was 2009. I can say pretty honestly that I'm not at that same income that I was in America back in 2009. And professionally, that's frustrating sometimes because I know that I'm not making the kind of money that I really should be. So I do a lot of side hustles,
Mhm.
businesses here, consulting there to get my income where it really needs to be. But my 9 to 5 doesn't pay me what what I'm used to.
Let's talk about some of the side hustles that, once somebody relocates to, we'll say Namibia, and they got 10 toes on the ground and they can't find, I guess, a corporate job. What kind of, I guess hustles can someone do in order to feed their family and pay the bills? Like some ideas or maybe share what you, and share what you do.
Okay, so you know, with us being from the States, one advantage that we have is it's an advantage and a disadvantage. Most of us speak English very well. We write English very well. The detriment is we don't really know any languages. But for me, with Namibia, English is an official language.
Right.
It's an official language used professionally and in the schools and things of that nature. But many of our brothers and sisters here, when it comes to writing on a higher academic level, they get their point across, but they don't get their point across as well as they should in some regards. So for me, I found a lot of opportunities doing consulting with some government ministries, in terms of helping them edit their annual reports, biannual reports, quarterly reports, and things of that nature. Quite a few students that are doing master's programs or PhD programs, and basically just editing their work. And in a good month, I can make a couple thousand US dollars.
Wow.
Just on my computer doing editing. And it takes a lot of time. But fortunately for me, since I'm relatively comfortable with academic and corporate writing, it doesn't take too long, and I've built a pretty good reputation in that work. So that's been a blessing for me in terms of providing extra income. And social media helps a lot. I sort of market what I do on social media. People contact me, and it keeps me busy. I've tried a couple, restaurants and nightclubs here, but Namibia, if I was in Kenya, I think, or or any bigger African city, I think those endeavors could have been more successful. But in Windhoek, the population is so small
Right.
that it's difficult, especially for upstart business in terms of the service industry, to really get your foot in the door. And plus, you've got so many South African chain type restaurants that it was hard for me to compete. So I tried 2 restaurants, ended up closing both of them because they weren't successful.
Is Steers out there in Namibia? Is it called Steers?
Yeah, Steers is here. That's a South African brand. I mean, everything that you would find in SA in terms of the chain stores, the department stores, the restaurant, we have here in Namibia.
Okay. Okay. Man, the sun is just rising. It's just goodness. It's just, I think that's a little bit better. There we go. Let's see here. What have you ever, I guess, considered possibly relocating back to America, or is it pretty much I'm in Namibia or Africa until I'm 6 feet deep?
No, the short answer is no.
Okay.
I definitely want to come back soon because I've got a daughter who's 27 now. She's in Vermont, and
Okay.
then my mom, and my brother, and all of my extended family's in Ohio. So sure, I want to go back and forth to visit, but in terms of living again in America, it really take it would. I couldn't see it unless some sort of disaster struck. But no, I have no, even with the reality that I'm making less money here than I am in America. Even say maybe 4 months ago, I applied for um, sort of the public health data analysis area, and I thought it was based here in Africa, but it turns out it was in DC. I did the interview anyway, just to sort of keep my interview skills up, and I actually got an offer. It paid me over double of what of what I'm making here, but it was based in Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, no amount of money could really bring me back to America to live. It doesn't appeal to me, irrespective of the political climate. Because a lot of people say, Trump this, Trump that. I moved from America in 2009 when Obama just got started. So, so for me, irrespective of who the political leader is in America, I have no real desire to live there again. None at all, really.
Now let's talk about because again, just the stereotypes of Africa. They try to make it seem as if there's a conflict in Congo, that all of Africa is affected. How safe is Windhoek? How safe is Namibia? I mean, I know it's completely safe. I had no issues. I was walking around at night by myself. But can you attest to that, testify to that?
First I'll reflect back on Kenya, because Kenya is a bit has more security challenges, for lack of a better word, than you would find in Namibia. Mm-hmm. But even in sort of the roughest areas in Kenya, I felt more comfortable than I would be, say, walking around, some of the roughest areas in Chicago or some of the roughest areas of Cleveland. Right. I mean, in some countries, actually in all countries, you've got to be aware of your surroundings. Opportunistic crimes are always going to happen anywhere you go, especially if you've got poor people that are trying to maybe get a cell phone that they could sell and buy some bread. So crime exists. I don't want to sugarcoat it. Right. Nairobi, living in Nairobi, I definitely had a few instances where my security and my family security was a little bit compromised. I never had anything that actually happened to me, but I had friends and colleagues that that was. But I can say the same thing about friends and colleagues that had serious problems with crime in America. So here in Namibia, crime is an issue in terms of opportunistic crimes. I had somebody one time driving in the middle of town. Somebody got me for my cell phone because I had my passenger side window open. Yeah. So things like that can happen. In terms of crimes against women, the issues of gender-based violence in Southern Africa, in particular, it's real, but those are crimes that are normally committed against, partners. A man is having some issues with his woman or his wife, and he, does, negative things to her. So gender-based violence issues are real. But in terms of, war and that type of stuff, that isn't really a reality. I feel completely 100%, I shouldn't say 100%, I say 95% safe and secure in my surroundings. I've never really had any real issues in Africa thus far.
Okay, and I know you wrote an article for the Huffington Post just about your experiences in Africa versus America. What motivated you to write that article?
There's been so many of our brothers in America that have been killed that I actually forget who the police murdered. But there was an instance of a shooting by a police officer in America. They killed somebody, I forget.
Yeah.
But when I reflected on that, I was even at my job. It really took me about 15 minutes to write that. And I reflected on that instance of police murder, and I reflected on the idea of many people always ask me, when are you going to come back to America?
Right.
So I think that's what the idea of, if you want to find me, come to Africa, because you know, just even me, when I was in the States, I actually used to teach inside of. So, I used to even have a badge that said, Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. I mean, I wasn't a police officer inside the prisons, but I was a teacher inside the prisons. And I recall one time on my way to work, I was driving, and for people that have seen me before, I've got dreadlocks and things of that nature. But a police officer came behind me on my way to work at a prison, and literally they had me hemmed up for maybe an hour and a half with the dogs in my car, with like all kind of drama, because they suspected me of doing a crime. So even that to this day, just dealing with the police, dealing with being profiled and things of that nature is something that I don't deal with here, which is a blessing.
I was going to say this too. I was impressed with Namibia. I tell people this: the roads, the infrastructure in Namibia, in my honest opinion, is better than in the majority of cities in America. What do you? I mean, would you agree with that, or what are your thoughts on that?
The road infrastructure is good, no doubt, in terms of in Windhoek and the major highways. But if you get a little bit deeper in some areas, the infrastructure isn't as nice. But the road infrastructure in Windhoek and the surrounding areas, I think, could rival, definitely any country in Africa, as well as most places in America. It's a blessing and a curse, because our roads are relatively nice here. People drive like maniacs. So, really, every week you're hearing about, people dying on the roads because when we talked about credit a little bit earlier, a lot of these young brothers are getting these Range Rovers, these BMWs, these Volkswagen GTIs, and they just drive like madmen. So you really have a lot of accidents on our roads, which is really troubling. Uh, Literally every week, every other week, you're hearing about a fatal accident on the road here in Namibia. And I think that's because people take for granted, because the roads are nice, they can drive like any way they want to drive.
Yeah, and because I remember when I was in Odongwa, I drove from Odongwa to Opuwo, and the roads were smooth, like they were great. I mean, I had this one instance where there were some goats or cattle that were being herded through the road. I had to stop for like 10, 15 minutes. I mean, I didn't have any issues, and that was considered, I guess the countryside, or the I guess the countryside of Namibia. Like I said, the roads are great. I was very impressed. I know, like in Senegal and some other cities, like literally when you and in Mali, when I first went to Mali, when you leave the capital city, like those roads get rough, or sometimes are non-existent.
Yeah,
that's what I was impressed with.
no, it's true.
Namibia was just how
Hello?
different. Yeah, I'm right here. Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I was impressed with Namibia. Was the roads. The roads were really smooth. And I know he spoke on some ideas as far as how people can make money. I know you mentioned as far as English, possibly restaurants, maybe. But what else do we have here in America that someone, either a product or service, do you think that somebody could bring to Namibia that they might not have? And I know Namibia and South Africa are pretty much westernized, or I'm pretty sure everything you get in America, whatever you find in America, you could probably find in Namibia, because its proximity to South Africa and how westernized it is. But is there anything else maybe that someone could bring or offer to Namibia that they don't have, that you might see?
That's a good question. I'm sure there is, but like I was saying before, Namibia is unique in the sense that if a person wants to live a Western life in Namibia, you can. I mean, everything that you could imagine, you could find in America. If you've got the money, you can find it in Namibia. Unlike in some countries, it's more of a challenge. Even if you've got money, it might be difficult to access different products and things of that nature. So if I was to advise someone in the States in terms of, business opportunities, outside of big money business opportunities, obviously if you've got a couple $100,000 US, you can come here and do just about anything you can dream about doing. But if you're sort of a brother on sort of a budget, or a sister on a budget, I would think the biggest thing you could bring to Namibia is your network. In terms of Namibia is a big, big, big tourist destination. So if you've got people in America, or really any place outside of Namibia, that have the resources to travel, then tourism, I think, is a very good business opportunity side. Because if you want to do a tour, if you want to do tours, all you need is a vehicle. If you've got a vehicle, you bring tourists in and you can move them around. I mean, a lot of, especially these European tourists, I mean, many of them are willing to pay, $4,000 or $5,000 US to go on tour for a week. So I think that's very, very valuable, especially in terms of the social networks and things of that nature. Even because I don't really have time to take my friends that travel here on tour, but tomorrow I've got 4 friends of mine coming from Ohio that arrive in Namibia. If I would have had the time, I would have been able to access those tourism dollars that they're going to give to somebody else to move them around. So I think tourism is a very viable business in Namibia. There's definitely more. They're just not coming to me off the top of my head now. But I would say, tourism is very viable business here.
Okay. What if someone wanted to come to Namibia and live off the grid? And I know they could do that because Namibia is not that populated. Is it possible to live off the grid in Namibia?
Yeah, I mean, once you get outside of Windhoek, the cost of living goes down considerably. But access to amenities goes down as well. So if somebody's willing to live off the grid, it's very doable. We've got some beautiful regions in the north of Namibia. My favorite place in Namibia is Kavango region, Rundu and those surrounding areas. The cost of living is very low. The river there. If you want, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit. If you eat fish, you can fish very easily. So there's parts of Namibia where people can live, really off the land. The challenge, of course, would be acquiring that land, but it's doable. But not in Windhoek. In Windhoek, it's not going to happen. But in some of the regions, it can happen.
Right. Now, as far as racism, I know Namibia might somewhat suffer from some of the same issues that's going on in South Africa, as far as, controlling the economy, or whites controlling the economy still in Namibia. Is that still going on for the most part? So I know a lot of the corporations, the majority of them are white owned in Namibia, and once the corporations control the economy, I mean, they control the economy, and the Africans don't. Is there a sense of that in Namibia, or is that the truth?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's true to some degree. Um, when I first came to Namibia, a friend of mine, a Canadian brother of mine, we sort of did an experiment to see if I could go week with just spending my money with black folks.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't do it. It was a challenge, especially when
Right.
you're dealing with trying to buy fuel, trying to buy, just basic household things. It's difficult to just spend your money um, with black people. Here in Windhoek, obviously, if you go to the north, it might be a different situation. But yeah, I mean, I must be completely honest. The economy. I mean, obviously, Namibia is a sovereign country. SWAPO is the ruling party. Our president's black. The majority of our parliamentarians are African. But when it comes down to the infrastructure of our economy, agriculture and things of that nature, yeah, the white folks have a big stake. I don't want to say they're completely controlling it, but they are very big stakeholders in the Namibian and obviously the South African economy. Um, it wasn't true, but literally once you step outside of Windhoek and you see these vast areas of land, and your colleague tells you that this is owned by one German family dealing with thousands and thousands and thousands of hectares of land. Um, the majority of our land is not in the hands of Black Namibians. That's a reality. It's a sad
Wow.
reality, but a reality nonetheless.
Now, are they implementing any programs that would, I guess, put the hands back, put the land back in the hands of Africans, like they're, I guess, considered doing in South Africa, or what they did in Zimbabwe? Is a plan like that going to be implemented?
You know, um, I try to stay a bit away from the political things, but the reality is, I don't anticipate something happening like what happened in Zimbabwe. Uh, Namibia is a land of, if nothing else, of great diplomats, and I don't think Namibian politicians would want to get embroiled in a controversy like what we saw or what we continue to see in Zimbabwe. Um, there is some redistribution of land, but Namibia's got a policy of what's it called, willing buyer, willing seller. So oftentimes what have happened, the government has tried to buy back some of this land from, the Germans, the some of these Afrikaners. They've tried to buy the land back from them, but these folks have pushed the price up for the land so high that even the government, to my knowledge, can't afford to buy back some of this land from the people that technically own it right now. But to some degree, what they're doing, some of the land that they're buying back, they are resettling people on it. But it's moving at a slow pace, and there are many people that are agitating um, for equal distribution of land. I anticipate probably within the next couple of years we might see um, some changes, but right now things are moving very, very, very slow when it comes to land. Now, in the communal areas, though, it's different. So if a person wants to get land, let's say in the north, in Oshakati or the areas outside, you can go to a chief or something of that nature and get land in the areas for very little money.
Mm-hmm.
But in areas like Windhoek or the areas that are known to be big areas, is more difficult.
Right.
And that's a that's the biggest political challenge that's going on right now in Namibia.
Okay. And brother, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to come on and share your experience as far as relocating to Africa. Just got a couple more questions, and I know I'm gonna let you go and get back with your family. Um, where can people reach out to you, and what services can you offer people who are interested in relocating to Namibia? How can they contact you, and are there any services that you can offer as far as helping them relocate or helping them find business opportunities or whatnot? Or do you do that?
Sure. I think what I can do, just like you and I are doing right now, we can always chop it up and share ideas, and I can always provide insight on my experiences and what I know to be true in Namibia in terms of opportunities. More specifically, since I work sort of in a public health domain, well, I do have a small consultancy business where if a person is a health professional in America or any place else, I can make the process very easy with them getting registered with the medical board here. So even recently, we brought a couple nurses from Ethiopia here to work. So if there's anybody out there that that works in the medical field, be it nurses, doctors, psychologists, X-ray techs, phlebotomists, anything of that nature, for people with those type of skills, it's very easy to find work here and to find opportunity. And sort of my expertise is linking up those type of folks with opportunities, because that's more of my professional background. But in terms of business opportunities, I can give my insight. Relocation endeavors, I can share whatever information I have as well.
But the info you just gave as far as helping out people in the medical field or the health sector relocating, getting set up in Namibia, I mean, that's very valuable. So yeah, definitely, please give people information to make it. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a very easy one. I've got a Facebook page called NAM, Namibia Health Recruit. And really, if a person has qualification, right now we've got a shortage. For example, I believe it's 6,000 nurses we've got a shortage of in Namibia. So, from LPNs to RNs to folks that even have worked in nursing homes, opportunities are endless. Obviously, the money that they make might not be the same that you'll be making as a nurse in America, but I think the quality of life is better here. And for health professionals, normally, if you're working for the government, they provide housing, car allowances, and things of that nature. So people with those type of skills, those critical skills, coming this side is very easy, very easy. For people that, for those type of folks, it's the transition is easy, very easy.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but I mean, in closing, is there anything else you want to share for those who are interested in relocating? Is any advice or any jewels you want to pass on to them?
Be prepared. I can't say that it's going to be easy, but it's well worth the challenge. There's definitely more opportunities in Africa than there are challenges. Africa is a very, very, very big continent. So depending on what people's wants and needs are, I'm sure they can find a place in Africa that they could be completely at home. Some countries are easier to integrate in than others. But I think the most important thing is have an open mind and and leave sort of that Western mentality the airport because you know, here it takes some time to adjust. And for me, I think what's made it uh, a bit easier to adjust in Africa is that I don't really look at myself as, you know, an African American per se. Once I came to Africa, I reclaimed, you know, my Africanness. So everybody I encounter is sister, and I think they look at me the same way. So that. I think that would be my biggest takeaway.
All right, cool. Well, brother, I appreciate it. People in the chat room, they want to thank you. I want to thank you. Thank you so much. And again, the reason why I'm doing this, as far as living and doing business in Africa, is to really set the record straight and give the facts. Relocating to Africa, the ups and downs. We're not going to romanticize it. And then, you know, obviously people want to know how will they be able, what opportunities are out there for them to feed themselves and their families if they're bringing their families or even starting a family in Namibia. So thank you, brother, for coming on. And, you know, of course.
And my brother, can I add one more thing?
Oh, go ahead, please. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Okay, because you just mentioned about the family. Another thing for folks that are traveling with children, you know, unlike America, obviously education is free. Primary education is free in the public schools here. But you know, even me, as open-minded as I am, you know, my children are in private schools. So in Namibia, private schools are, depending on your budget. For me, it's a bit expensive. So for my children, we pay about plus minus 8,000 rand per month for 2 kids. So that's something that if people are coming with children, they want to keep in mind as well. Because, you know, 9 times out of 10, people might not want to send their children to public schools. Not to say that public schools don't offer a comprehensive education, but just to keep it real, the private schools are a bit better, for lack of a better word. So that's something that people might want to budget out for, as well as educational expenses for children. Because in America, you can send your kid to a relatively okay public school and not have to spend money. Here, there's costs that you're going to incur to send your children to private school.
All right, cool. So with that
but no, you can link my you can link my Facebook page. I don't know how you post this, but you can link my Facebook page and
right, brother. Do me a favor. Facebook message me all your information that you want me to put in this in the description for this video, and then I will send you the link to this video. And then also too, if you just one more time, just go ahead and shout out any information that you want to shout out, or any contact information that you want to shout out for people to get in contact with you.
Okay, they can people can contact me via email at NAM editing@gmail.com. My Facebook is Brian D. Wheeler. I've got a couple blogs. I don't even remember the names, but I'll send you a link to my blogs, and people can feel free to friend me on Facebook or drop me a line on Facebook. I'm always open to share it and building together.
Cool, perfect. All right, brother. Well, with that being said, search for Uhuru. Make sure you guys follow me on social media, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, or Facebook. Search for Uhuru, all one word. And then also go to dynastysamir.com, go to searchforwho.com, and then please go to amazon.com and check out the books I've written, and please support. Brother Wheeler, thank you so much. I appreciate it. When I get to Namibia, I plan on being there. I will definitely be there next year for sure. It just seems like the last 2 years, I was supposed to come to Namibia, either the airport, I think it was in the airport, the small airport in Windhoek. No, I'm sorry, the airport in Odongwa was shut down. So I couldn't fly from Windhoek to Odongwa. And then I think 2 years before that, I was supposed to come to Windhoek with Namibia from Mali, but my flight got canceled in Mali, so I ended up just going to Nairobi. So it's just always been some blockage. But next year, I will definitely be in Namibia for sure. Next year, so we'll definitely. Because this year I'm going to Senegal, Ghana, Togo, and Benin. But next year I will definitely be to Namibia.
I'm gonna be in Ghana in the end of October.
How long will you be there?
I'm gonna be presenting at this conference. Say it again.
How long will you be there?
The conference is October 26th and 27th, but I'm probably gonna spend at least a week. So at the end of October, I'll definitely be in, God willing, I'll definitely be in Accra. So maybe we can cross paths there as well.
Yeah, see, I won't be in Accra at the end of November. That's the thing. I'm coming I think I leave like Thanksgiving Day from America, and then I'll be there.
I got you.
Yeah, but like I said, I will definitely be in Namibia next year. I'm coming back. So I absolutely love that place, but it's just for some reason, it's just the blockage. I don't know what it is. It just wasn't. It hasn't been meant to be. Every time I try to get out there. So again, y'all, I appreciate it.
No, we'll be here to welcome you, my brother.
Thank you. I can't wait. I cannot wait. So, all right, brother.
Okay, my brother. You have a blessed afternoon, man. Thank you so much.
And no, thank you. All right, we're out.